Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome.
This is your first time back in studio.
Mm-hmm.
We made it 39 uninterrupted weeks
Yep.
of putting out a podcast every single week, and we said that's enough. We're done.
We're done. We're over it. We're going to go bi-weekly now.
No.
Just kidding.
But we were definitely going to take a break. And that's exactly what we needed. We needed to have a break. And so the last week, we did not post any podcast. We still posted video to the YouTube channel, but we did not post any podcast because we were on vacation.
Yes.
And we wanted to honor that time.
Yes.
And we didn't have the time to, work well ahead.
Yeah.
To try to get ahead of the whole podcast situation. And so we just did what we could and
Took a week off.
Yeah.
And even with video, that was hard to still get that one out there because we had to edit while on vacation a little bit. But we just took one day, spent a little time on it, and then that was fine. But now we're back and things are in full swing, and somehow we do have to get ahead a little bit.
So eventually we are going to have to, yeah. Before we go too much further, I'm Justin.
And I'm Labry.
And this is the Better Together podcast. Yeah, you're exactly right. We're definitely going to have to get ahead. We took vacation as an opportunity just to take some time off, but with another baby coming soon, we're not going to have that option. So we're going to have to start like double recording or something. I have to be honest, though. A little bit of what you said about like bi-weekly almost sounded good to me in the sense of like more God, better together, more God, better together, and just like alternate weeks maybe for a little bit and see how that goes.
Yeah.
But then that would just give us time to actually
do a little bit more. Like
have a better...
Do less maybe is the better thing.
To do less in one aspect to be able to do more in another. I don't really know how to describe that, but I think that
maybe
time...
have a little more balance.
Yes. It's so hard to figure out like where you want to be at.
Yes.
Honestly. I think it really depends on like if we keep doing the YouTube thing, we want to make it the year.
Yep.
Which is starting to prove itself difficult.
Yeah.
That desire to pick up the camera. Maybe if we get through the hump, that's when it'll get easier.
Yes, and it's also like, because we have a little bit of a backlog, so it makes it tough to want to record more when you know that you have some stuff that needs to be finished.
Can you get on your mic a little more?
Oh, sorry. But it's hard to really want to do more, like I said, when you have stuff that's still waiting that has to be processed.
Yeah.
Because that bulk just weighs on you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got to do it. But then finding the time to take care of that.
Finding the right vibe of a video, I think, is where we really are struggling. It's like, what content do we want to produce? What do we want to make? And that's easier said than done.
Yes.
And like even on vacation, we took some clips, we took a lot of pictures, we did those things, and we didn't actually like film any real video parts. Yeah. And
we had one clip that was like purposeful, like talking, but
about a restaurant that was great, and we can get into that in a minute. But yeah, we didn't do the best of videoing the whole thing,
but we were in the moment.
That's the hard part. You can either be in the moment or you can capture the moment, but it's extremely difficult to do both well.
Yes,
you can kind of mix them, but you can't do them both well, and you have to be purposeful in a video. Like I don't even know how to think about it.
You have to create a storyline.
Exactly. You have to create a story if you want to make a good video. Because, like, you could do a home video, which is almost more of, like, kind of what we want personally. And you would just, like, have the camera going, record things. But you have to tell a story for it to be, like, a good YouTube video. Yeah. And that shows itself hard.
If there's no story, then it's not entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the point of YouTube.
I'll be right back. You keep going.
Okay. But that's the point of YouTube, is to entertain and all that. But we're wanting it more so to be like a video diary for us. So that way we can go back and look at it. Like, we're not really thinking it's going to do anything, but it's nice to have these videos in the background and be able to go back and review them and just enjoy what life's been like.
You didn't have to pause before I got back over here.
Sorry. You were just so cute with your lemonade. It made me think about my lemonade.
Well, but I think, like, we like to be able to reflect on the videos. And so, like, the videos that we have that are old videos in there, that's what really sparked the YouTube thing again for us is I went back and watched those. And it was like, it's so funny to go back and watch these things. Yeah. To see how we interacted, to see what we were doing, to remember things that you may not remember otherwise. Yeah. And so it was just really neat to look at those. And so we want to be able to do that in the future, and especially with the kids.
Yeah. It's so nice because like our generation, we grew up having some VHSs of us as kids and tons of pictures and stuff.
We were
Like your family more.
we were in the home video generation
Yeah.
though. And you would think that now we've got a camera in our pocket all the time. What I notice is that I think we do a worse job of capturing real moments.
Yeah.
We can capture staged moments all day for Instagram, but rarely do we actually capture things.
Those candid, true moments.
We capture too much, some people, and you don't have the ability to actually go back and look at it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But when you produce a video with what you've captured, then you have the ability to go back and enjoy it and look at it.
And with creating a video like that, it helps you ensure that there's specific things in there, and you can kind of weed through the duplicates and various things like that.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier to consume.
I don't know how I'm out of breath, but it's like, whoo.
Welcome to pregnancy.
But it's the thing about the video thing too, is that we are halfway through the year, which I hadn't thought about. And that means that like we've actually done a whole lot at this point.
Yeah.
And so we can really see like what we've come from and what we've done. I've learned a lot about equipment. I think we've gotten better in a lot of cases at being in video, especially like even being on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like this is just easy now.
Yeah, this is nothing.
It used to be like, oh, this is difficult. Or even when I did like the solo podcast, like teaching, now it's like the podcast I did the other day got interrupted several times because we had somebody working on a car in the yard. But, you know, I was able to basically go with no notes and I feel like carry on a concise thing. Something that at one point I didn't think that I would be able to do. Now I found that I can.
Heavily on notes in the past and like basically reading a script through. But now, almost 6 months in, you can just
You know what's crazy though? Is I feel like being able to talk to a camera, being able to podcast, being able to think more off the cuff has actually made it easier in other circumstances to talk and communicate and have those relationships that I probably wouldn't have before.
Well, you got to practice a lot of the communication skills that we learned in our communication
That's
class through video and everything. So it helped you process all that. Like, I'm a natural talker. Like, I will talk to a rock. I will chat your ear off.
She will tell a lot of people a lot of things that they don't care to hear. And I'm not trying to be mean. It just happens.
It happens. I'm a talker, and I come by it honest. My mom's a talker. My mammal's a talker. Our kid is now a talker. So it is what it is. So I can start a conversation with anybody, but where on your end, you've had to go through that and learn and build confidence in that.
Well, a lot of it was just like, I don't know what to talk to you about. Like, you know, I'm just...
Why should I make small talk?
Yeah, like, what is there to talk about?
What's their point?
But now it just seems like easier to have those lines of communication because you're not thinking about what you're going to have to say. I've practiced being able to talk without fully, and it's not that you don't think about what you're saying, especially when you're teaching, obviously, but you don't have to search for the thoughts as much. It's like a well-worn path, right? The more you go to it, the easier it is to get there. And that's the same thing with the way your mind's going to work. The more you communicate, the more you talk, the easier it's going to be to get there. And so really, if you're in that introverted space, that person who doesn't communicate as well, that struggles, you know, to have conversation or small talk or things like that, it might be a good confidence builder and a good skill builder to do a podcast or to do a YouTube channel and just to talk and to sort out things. And post it, don't post it, it doesn't really matter.
Well, and even you can post it, but have it set as private.
Yeah.
And you could even set it to where you can share it with a few select friends. And it helps you, one, go through it yourself and have that personal practice. But two, if you do share it with some friends or you're saving it for just yourself, you can go back and review and learn a lot about yourself and just different things to improve on. I know that with the sign language stuff that I've done in the past, a lot of great practice comes from videoing yourself, going back and watching and say, oh, that sign was a little sloppy, or I need to adjust this, adjust that, and just being able to see and process what you're actually doing.
Well, there's a reason that $1 million football programs spend a lot of time watching game footage.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot easier to look at what you've done and see how you can improve.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't do the best at re-listening to these podcasts and seeing what I could do better, but I think I just grow in it every moment of like putting it out there. And that's what this was really about, was forcing ourselves to create, to put something out there on a regular basis, and that's the way that you get better at something. Repetition builds a skill.
Yes.
Right? Like, you don't just have a skill. It's a
Yeah.
repetition-based thing that allows you to be able to do something. Even the best guitar player only got to be the best guitar player because they played the most guitar.
Yep.
Right? They continually played and played and played, and they got better and better. If you want to get better at anything, you have to continue to do it. If you want to get better at speaking, you need to speak.
Yep.
Slash, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is a guitarist. He played guitars, I think, for like Guns N' Roses or something. He is supposedly one of the best guitarist players in the world. Well, I just happened to see a headline today thinking about that he's been trying to learn how to play steel guitar, pedal steel guitar, which is one of the most complex instruments in the world. If you've never heard one, well, if you've ever heard a country song, you've probably heard one. But if you've never seen one, they look like it's like just a flat panel in front of you. Sometimes there'll be 3 stacks, basically, that look like the necks of a guitar with strings, and they have pedals, and they even have parts that you move your knees, and it changes the pitch and the tone and everything. And they're played with a slide bar and a bunch of finger picks. It is one of the most difficult instruments you can ever play. My grandpa actually played it. He was a recording, touring musician playing that instrument. But Slash has been trying to learn how to play that. And he said, I dedicate 2 to 3 hours every day, no matter what, to playing this instrument. One of the greatest guitar players in the world, trying to learn something new that's like playing the guitar, is doing it 2 to 3 hours a day to get better at it. I don't know why this podcast went this way, but if you need to hear it, if you want to get better at something, continue to do it. The reason that people become the best at something is because they spend the most time doing it.
And this goes for everything. It goes for the spiritual and for the physical. Because spiritual-wise, if you are struggling to pray, you got to pray. You got to make a consistent schedule to pray. If you're struggling to read your Bible, make a schedule. Be purposeful with it. The same thing in the physical. If you want to work out, you need to be purposeful. You need to have a schedule. You need to be accountable.
On the spiritual side, the hardest time to pray is when you haven't prayed regularly.
Yes.
And the hardest time to read your Bible is when you haven't read your Bible regularly.
Yep.
But the more you do those things, the easier they get and the more you grow in it. You may be a person who thinks, I could never remember Scripture. You can remember Scripture if you continue to read Scripture. I'm trying to get better at Bible memory verses. I've not been the best at it. But I do have Psalm 103:1. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, praise his holy name. That's Psalm 103:1. I picked a random verse in the Bible and wanted to memorize it. I don't know why that's the one, but that's what I chose. I listened to the Bible Memory Goal podcast. They do some memory things that I can't understand, but the way that I can remember something is just say it again and again and again. Actually, I think I had it as my screensaver on my phone.
Yeah, you did.
Because I had it, because it says, it doesn't just say that. In a few verses down, in verse 21, it says, Bless ye the Lord, all ye his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure. And so I had both 103:1 and 21 on my home screen. And I was like, well, 103:1 seems like a pretty easy one to remember since I can just sit here and look at it. And so I'm going to try to switch that out and just memorize more verses. But the way that you're going to memorize it is by reading it again and again and again. And I didn't even recite it last week when we were on vacation. I mean, maybe like in my head a couple times, but I didn't make a purposeful thing of it. But I spent a day or two really just trying to dial that in the week before we went on vacation. I can come back today and still be able to recite it. Now, if I never recite it again, obviously you'll lose it. But you can build so much in repetition. You're going to get better at spiritual things the more that you do them, and you're going to get better at other things. We've gotten better at making videos because at this point,
we've made several.
We're 20 some odd weeks into the year. I don't know. And we have made a video every single week. Editing's easier. It's quicker. I think the videos are probably a little bit better. Sometimes it's hit and miss.
Depending on the content and like what we're going through. Like we had a DIY video that we did putting in our garden path. And that was a little bit of a struggle because one, you're doing manual labor.
Yeah. It's hard to record when you're doing
You're trying to record doing the manual labor. And it was kind of hot and humid because there had just been storms and I'm pregnant, so I feel hot no matter what all the time. So it just was not fun to record, but we forced ourselves to do it. But in that, it's still not like the greatest video.
It's also not our worst video.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that.
That's the way that goes for sure.
Did we ever finish that one out?
Yeah.
Okay, we recorded a thing to finish it.
We already posted it.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
You posted it. You edited it.
It's been
The good news is you get to
Little
edit
bit.
the Burgess Falls video tomorrow because I'd forgot about it until we
Oh.
got down here to do this. But that video is going to be super short. All those
Okay.
clips are on the same device, so it
Okay.
should be pretty succinct. And it'll just be throwing a couple pictures in, maybe one clip from my phone,
Okay.
but everything else is on the one camera. Should be super quick and easy.
Okay.
I do need to record some kind of intro for it, but
Okay, so we'll have to do that tonight. Sorry, y'all. We just ran into
that's your content
working
creation.
out issues.
This wasn't what we had planned to talk about originally, but I think that part of this podcast now at 15 minutes in is definitely going to be our thoughts on content creation is what this is about. But it's just what it is. I will say, while thinking about content creation a little bit more, is that that if you want to really be able to have a quick and a big reach, a good thing to do is to do the short form content. I wish I was better about like making those, but I think I put too much on myself in the idea of doing that instead of just like quickly speaking something and like I try to like have it be perfect.
Yeah.
Which is harder, but like the reach you can get on short form content, especially on platforms like TikTok and even YouTube Shorts, if you post frequently enough, it hits it a different way than like YouTube videos and stuff like that. Those get lost in the shuffle a whole lot more. But the TikToks and things, like, you're going to see, you can post a TikTok and get a few hundred views almost instantly.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean they're watching the whole thing, but you're getting your stuff in front of the eyes of people so much quicker. And that's why we've tried to make an effort of putting these podcasts on those social media platforms, because it's going to get that reach out there quicker and easier. But
Lord willing, now that we're back from vacation, I can get back to that and whatnot. So you should be seeing some more short clips coming out, but just keep an eye out.
We both need a schedule.
Yeah.
We need to figure out, like we talked about it in other episodes of the podcast, we didn't do anything about it. We need to figure out a schedule.
Yeah.
We need to Dave Ramsey ourselves in our desires to actually accomplish things. Like we've got through the debt thing. Now we need to get through like actually just being proactive and accomplishing goals, and like doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah. So we'll have to have that meeting at some point, and maybe it'll be a podcast. If you guys would like to,
we'll just come down here with our notebook and
if you guys want to see us work through that, let us know.
We're going to get you some headphones at that point, so that way you can actually know if you're on the mic or not.
I brought the headphones. I just don't have a cord to.
Yeah, we need a splitter. If you guys want to find us on Patreon, I'm just kidding. You can find our PayPal link in the description for the minute. No.
I don't want to do that, because then what if people request money? Because they can do that. I don't know if it makes you pay it.
I don't think it makes you pay it, but I don't know how that works. There are ministries that do their stuff through PayPal, which is interesting to think about. I don't know how that.
I don't know. But if you would like to bless us, we can set up a P.O. box or something.
No. I don't think we're looking for that. I always felt weird about that. Like, there's the whole idea of YouTube, and like that's on content creation too. Eventually, I want to get to some of vacation talk.
Yeah.
But when I would watch like Casey Neistat videos years ago,
people are just sending him stuff.
People would send him so much stuff, and so many other YouTubers, people would send them so many things.
And like, these people got money.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They are not struggling at this point when you're sending them things. So like, yes, it's nice, and like you get a little mention or whatever on their video, and they say, "Hey, thank you for this thing," but then it goes in a pile.
I'm not saying this because we're small YouTube creators, because I don't want support and I don't want a bunch of free stuff that you have to deal with.
I kind of like free stuff.
But well, you know what I mean. But the thing about it is like, if you want to support content creators, you should support small content creators, because it's funny to see how much notoriety, how much is given to people who aren't in need and aren't trying to grow and things like that. Or really, once you get to those high subscriber counts, even 200,000 subscribers, I don't think you're worried as much about you can go look at that.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, y'all.
I don't think you're worried as much about how much support you get from your community and things like that as you are when you're a much smaller content creator. And so it's really good to just go ahead and support those people. That's not to say anything bad about the bigger content creators. Obviously, it's not a bad thing to send them things, but it is just interesting to see that. And so I was never a big fan of like watching them get all these free things all the time, and like, or even the idea of like Patreon blows my mind. Like, hey, I would like you to pay me to do the things you would probably actually like to do but can't do, so you'll just pay me to live a better lifestyle. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think content creation, even if they're putting out great videos, the support system should be based on how much sorry, this is the thing about doing the podcast when your kids are awake, and that's that he was trying to watch a show, to have his moment. This is about the only time he gets a show every week. He really looks forward to us doing a podcast, and his headphones died, and so the sound keeps coming through. I'm not sure if it's even picking up on the microphones or not, but that's what she's trying to take care of. Like I was saying, is I think that if you're going to be a content creator and you're going to want to produce the best things, then eventually it needs to become on the AdSense revenue, which I know isn't what it used to be, but also in endorsements and product deals and things like that, where you can build your income on that and not rely on the viewer as much to do that. Oh, will you hit do not use on that? I hate when it makes it seem like it stopped recording.
Oh,
and so
okay.
It messed me up.
Well,
we're just having a time tonight. I guess that means it's a pretty good time to just transition into some vacation talk.
Yes.
We look so professional in this episode of the podcast.
Sorry, y'all. It is what it is, real life. But we just got back from vacation a couple of days ago, and we went to Florida, which is typical vacation, summer spot, whatever. We're trying to escape the slightly cooler temperatures here. When we left, it was still like 60s, low 70s. But now we're back and we're mid 70s.
About 80.
Low 80.
Yeah.
But we wanted a little bit of heat, get the taste of summer, have a little time on the sand.
We plan this, we always plan a Florida trip in January when we're just ready to leave. We don't leave in January to go anywhere, but we just dream about it.
And then we look forward to it for months and months and months. But we had a baby moon basically before we had our son about this time of year. And we just thought it was going to be a perfect time to go again. We had just told our family. So we started going ahead and planning the trip for this summer. And it was wonderful. We took your parents with us, had them come along, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a good trip. This trip was a mixed bag for me. For one, I got hurt pretty early on in the trip. It doesn't look nearly as bad as it did, but I ended up cutting both sides of my finger at the knuckle on my middle finger.
It was rough, y'all. It was.
Well, I was climbing. The house we rented came with a boat, and we took the boat over to an island where a lot of people hang out. And so we anchored the boat out, and we were walking along the beach. I found a sponge. That sponge ended up being dead. So I ended up throwing it back later. But I found a sponge. I was taking it back to the boat, and I thought I'll hop up here and maybe I'll turn the battery off. So that way I don't have to worry about it. Because I don't know this boat. It's not our boat. I'd hate for the battery to die while we're out here, and it had a main kill switch. It's like, I'll just turn it off, and then I don't have to worry about it. We'll be able to start and make it back.
And this is after you'd ventured out with us for a little bit. You just I have this nagging feeling. I'm going to go back and check on things.
Yeah. Climb up on the boat, put my knee up, because we're beached, right? So you have to climb into the boat.
Yeah.
And I put my knee up, and I go to raise my hand, and when I raise my hand to the railing of the boat, I slip. My finger went between the rail and the door. And pulled really hard. I didn't even know anything had happened, honestly. I fell on my bottom in the water. I was just upset that I fell in the water. So I get back up, climb in the boat, and then I realize my finger doesn't feel right. And I look, and there's blood all over it. And then that's when the pain starts to set in.
Yeah.
I thought I broke my finger. I thought I broke my finger 20 minutes from the house by boat, and probably another 15 minutes from any kind of medical center from that house. So you're 30 or 40 minutes away by the time I go get you guys and all that. And I'm just starting to go into panic. So I rinse it with water, I dry it, I bandaged it, and then I laid on the floor of the boat. And finally, that was as close to being in shock as I've ever been. And so it finally started to not hurt as bad. I could tell that I could bend it and touch it. That obviously you can bend a broken bone, so that doesn't mean that things aren't broken. But then I could touch it, and there was no shooting pain. That's a much better sign of a break. And so I could touch the knuckle, I could touch around it, and it didn't hurt. It just hurt on the two sides that I cut deeply. The bleeding stopped.
Took chunks out of your skin.
The bleeding stopped, thankfully, quickly.
Which is not normal for him, so praise God.
Yeah, I'm not a complete free bleeder, but it can be a little free-flowing at times, and it wants to.
He bleeds liberally.
Yes. But that's the only thing I do liberally. And it got better. it kind of ruined that day for me.
Well, that was like the first true day doing anything on the trip.
That was like Monday.
Yeah.
We drove a boat out. We were going to have time. We were going to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I was like, I'm done. I'm just laying here. I didn't even drive the boat back. I let my dad drive.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I was just done.
Yeah.
And it kind of set the tide because then, like, you can't really go swimming.
Yeah.
You can't do this. By the end of the trip, it was, like, a lot better.
Yes.
It healed surprisingly fast. It looks almost like nothing happened now.
Mm-hmm. But it's still sore, sadly, because regrowing those nerves is not fun.
Yeah, and if you touch it, it feels kind of nummy.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of like set that mood of the trip. But then the other mixed bag of it, honestly, it was like the houses area, the neighborhood, great.
Fantastic.
Turns out the rest of Newport Richie, questionable.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else.
Fans
we
of
didn't.
That.
We didn't like it. I don't know where my parents fell on that. They didn't seem to spend as much time in those areas as we did. But it was weird. Like, I don't know what's happening to America, but when you go to Walmart and the buggy carriages or whatever are basically empty.
Mm-hmm. Because the buggies are just everywhere.
Yeah, the buggies are just all in the parking lot. When you go to a place and there's no buggies in the place they're supposed to be, and they're literally just all throughout the parking lot, I don't understand that. Like, and they were buggies next to the thing.
Yeah, like literally, here's the corral, here's a buggy. Why couldn't you just?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I don't know. You took like 3 buggies back, and on top of that, there was like a patio chair.
Yeah,
just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, what is up with that?
It was definitely one of the sketchier areas of Florida that I feel like I've been in, and I didn't know that it was going to be that way until we got there. Apparently, my dad had kind of gotten the vibe that it was a little bit different in that area, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Tarpon Springs, though. Great.
Fantastic. Highly, highly recommend. I actually just recommended that to some people today, even though they're not really looking for a vacation. They was kind of joking when those funny Facebook posts like, who are you going on vacation with? And it says all these silly things and you tag different people in it. But one of my friends, it was tagged in that and it said, oh, well, where are we going on vacation? Like, I don't know. I was like, hey, I got the place for you. Like, this place was fantastic. We loved Tarpon Springs. Not only the sponge docks, but the actual downtown was fantastic. The sponge docks, the food, I really loved the food there. And the downtown having the Creole smokehouse.
Well, the Sponge Docks is originally like a very Greek area. And so there's a lot of Greek theming. There's Greek restaurants and bakeries and things like that. And it was great. It's called Hella's. It was wonderful. The bakery had a lot of great things. And then the restaurant was really good. I had never had anything that I ate there. Yeah. And it was all great.
We both...
And not that expensive.
Both us and your parents ended up sharing the samplers that they had. So it was a little bit of pretty much all the main Greek food. And all of us were like, this was perfect. Perfect amount of food, first off, because it's a giant plate. And it had like 2 of everything. But so it filled you up nicely, but then it was a great price and everything was so delicious. I don't know what they were called, but these little meatball things wrapped in grape leaves that had mint in them, that was so refreshing. Like, I would not think that I would like something wrapped in a grape leaf.
You liked it so much. It was
great.
It tasted good. It was interesting.
I loved the mint in it.
I wouldn't choose it. The mint in it is what got me. I was like, that is, wow. Well, you just don't expect that in your, like, entree to me. So I was like, that was weird. But my favorite restaurant by far was the one you mentioned, the Creole Smokehouse. It was like
Hors? Because it's like hors d'oeuvres, but it's just hors.
I guess. I don't know. It was, but it was funny because I told you when we were on the way down there, I was like, don't worry about prices and things like that. I hadn't looked at the prices. It was expensive. That was the most expensive meal we've shared. That was $90 for 2 people. All we drank was water. Yep. But it was so good. That's the only time I've ate a meal and been sad, where I was like, I don't get to eat this again. That's how good it was. I had gumbo to start. That was really good. I think your gumbo I like better, but that was a cool gumbo.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. And it was it was
like
totally
a stew.
Different from my gumbo. Because, like you said, that was more of a stew, and mine's a soup.
And it was a darker roux, though.
Yeah.
And yours is like a lighter roux. And then I had crawfish and shrimp etouffee with alligator sausage. mind-blowing. That was the best thing that I've ever ate. The roux in that tasted so good that I was like wiping it up with bread and with like some of the sausage from your meal.
Yeah.
And just like going after it because it was the best thing I've ever had. Like that.
You were so tempted in this fancy restaurant to pick up the plate and lick it.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yeah. And I'd never had crawfish before. I never had alligator before, but it was all great.
Yeah.
It was great. But the roux is what made that dish so good. And like you said, it's a very fancy restaurant. I've never been to a restaurant where they were like, yeah, we print the menu daily. Yeah. So it's a different menu every day. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
If you go there, you may not get what we got.
Yeah.
Like, it may just be completely different.
The funniest thing I told that at work to me is we walk in and there's like one group of people in the front room that we were in.
Of like 6 people. That's it.
And then the guy looks at us and he's like, so do you happen to have reservations? And I look around like, there is nobody here. Why does it matter?
Like, why do I need a reservation?
We were there early. I think they just opened because they're just like a dinner thing, I think. They just opened. So it's not because they're not good that there was nobody there. Obviously, they were great. And it started to fill up as we were getting ready to leave. But it was just funny to me. Do you have a reservation? It's like, well, do we need one?
Like, I mean, it's 4 o'clock.
I don't think it's a big deal.
But I had the half chicken jambalaya.
Yeah, which I'd never had jambalaya before.
Yeah. That was amazing. And half a chicken, if you're wondering, is a lot more meat than one brie needs.
It was a lot. Half a chicken is literally half a chicken.
Yeah. So it was a lot, but it was a like barbecue seasoned smoked chicken, and it was delicious. But then you have the jambalaya underneath it, and it was just so good. Like, absolutely delicious. And I ate as much as I possibly could, and then I shared.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't eat the chicken as much, but I ate the jambalaya underneath it, and it was really good.
Well, it's just kind of hard to also like pick off the chicken from, the half a chicken that
you'd already thrown me some sausage, and you had shrimp in yours too, I think. And so you already thrown me some of that. I was like, that's pretty good. So when you told me like, hey, you can have this, I was like, forget the chicken. I want this stuff.
Yeah. It was absolutely delicious, and their little rolls that they had with it were amazing. So if you're ever in that area, we highly recommend that restaurant. It's spelled like ours, but with an apostrophe after the H, Creole Smokehouse.
Yeah.
So
it was good.
Super delicious. And like, I've been to Louisiana and had authentic Louisiana food, and this was it. It was legit. Like, absolutely amazing.
It was really good. And I want to ask, like, is this chef actually Creole? Because like, this is really good.
Yeah. I tried to like kind of hint at it, like, hey, I've been to Louisiana and this tastes just like stuff from there. Like, this is fantastic. And he was like, thanks.
Yeah. But it was all really good. And then, like, going around the downtowns was nice. Going to some of the natural areas it was pretty cool. And then the highlight was going on the Anaclote Key.
Yes.
Just to be on the island and see the shells. You found a sand dollar.
Yeah, that was my first ever sand dollar that I found. So I was stoked. Like, your mom found a couple first and like lots of pieces of ones. So, but she had gone off while I was playing with our son in the water and just letting him play in the sand and everything. She had gone off looking, and she comes back with this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I've never found one before. So that's so cool. She goes, well, I've got him now. You go have your little search and, explore, see what you can find. And I'll walk about halfway down the way she had walked, and there's one just hanging out right for me.
Yep.
So that was really neat. But we also found tons of the conch shells, or whatever they're called, the little spirally ones.
That's what I think of them as. I don't know.
But every single one of those that we found had something in it.
Yeah. Snails.
Yeah. And of course, all of those were still in the water. But as I was walking all around the turn of the Anaclote Key, like, you could see chunks of shell from the big ones. And I'm like, oh man, we can only get out to really find something.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that.
And then while they were doing that, me and my dad were on the boat. We the first day we got off at the island too, but then the second time that we went, we just kind of dropped them. We sit on the boat and we were fishing, and we had a great time. Caught a ton of fish. Like, I don't even know how many fish we caught.
Like,
we caught
it was a good fishing day when you lose count.
We caught them on various different baits, little snappers and sea trout. Our son, when he got on the boat, he ended up catching a puffer fish. Then we all 3 caught puffer fish. That was pretty cool. We caught just all kinds of mess of stuff I don't even know what it was.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about fishing in the ocean is like you start catching some things, you're like, I ain't got a clue, but it's cool.
Yeah. It's like, this is really fun looking, and it, fought nice, but who knows what it is because I fish freshwater.
That was the most success I've ever had fishing in Florida.
Yeah. Like, that was absolutely amazing. And our son actually, like, solo caught that pufferfish completely by himself. You're holding the rod so it doesn't go in the water, but he's doing everything.
Yeah.
He pulled it back to set the hook and reeled it in all by himself.
Yep.
So that was just a great moment for him.
A big rod, like not a little kid's rod, like my rod I had been using.
An adult rod.
I casted it and then I handed it to him and he did the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And he kept trying to like hold everybody's fish.
Yeah.
He's like, can I hold that one? How about that one? Can I hold your fish?
And that's the thing is we don't hold every fish in Florida because you don't know what every fish in Florida is going to do to you. And
you
so like the sea trout are ones that I know aren't going to hurt you. So I'd let him hold those and he'd throw them back in the water or whatever. Yeah. But some of the stuff like the pufferfish, obviously you're not holding that.
But some of these other unknown fish were like, we don't know about this one, buddy, so we're not going to hold it. But every time a sea trout came up, he's like, I can hold that one.
Yeah, every other one after that we caught, he was like, okay, I got that one. Like, all right, dude, that's fine with me.
Go for it, bud.
I was so happy that he caught the fish, too, because, when we got there and dropped you guys off, we turned around and there were just a ton of boats in a pretty clearly defined area. Yeah. Right? It was pretty obvious where all these people were.
Where the fish were.
And then we're pulling out to go find a fishing spot. We turn around, see all the boats, and then I'm cruising, looking around, and a dolphin jumps, and they come out of the water, and I'm like, all right, let's throw the anchor out. Yep. There's no reason to go any further. If the dolphins are here, and if all these boats are here, there's got to be fish.
Yep.
So we just randomly threw the anchor out, started casting, and started catching fish.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And so y'all saw the dolphin. I think you saw something else too, possibly, that I can't remember. But
we saw a bunch of dolphins.
We're playing on the beach, and I see these two fish swimming just along the shore, and they're longer than our son is tall, really big, skinny fish, and they're just racing along the line. I have no clue what they were, but I tried to get his attention, and we're chasing after him down the beach so he could see him.
The ocean is a sketchy place.
Yeah.
And I've been to the ocean a lot. We've gone at least once a year for the majority of the years I've been on this planet. And you learn quickly that it's you don't want to play here.
Yeah.
I'm not a big getting in the water person. I've been in Myrtle Beach on the pier fishing, and I've seen, 6-foot sharks swim down the pier to the shoreline and turn once they got into probably 3 or 4 foot of water and swim through people.
Yeah.
The only reason they didn't eat the people is because they didn't want to that day for whatever reason, right? It's the same reason, I would say we walk past a lot of snakes we don't realize in the woods, and they just haven't decided to bite us yet.
Yeah. You didn't do something to mess with them.
You didn't do whatever it was that shark needed to bite you that day, but it was there.
Yeah.
The ocean.
The great thing about the Anclote Key is the water was so clear.
Yeah.
It was like the Bahamas. Not that we ever experienced that for ourselves.
We watched a lot of YouTube videos.
But we have seen a lot online about how clear the water is in the Bahamas. And it was just crystal clear. So you can just see everything.
It was a trip because, we were in a canal, and you come out of the canal, the water's kind of murky. It's deep. Yeah. But it's definitely stained water. And so then you come out, you get to that island, though, and, it had the water change. The water changed colors, once you got over there. And it was just really impressive. It was cool.
It was such a neat thing to experience. But we get there and, so I feel a little bit more comfortable when I can see everything in the water. When you can't see through the water, I don't really want to play.
That's why I like the Gulf side a lot more, because you can see through the water. I grew up on the Atlantic going to Myrtle Beach, where you can't see your hand once you put it barely under the water, it feels like. And so you don't know what's lurking on the other side, especially when you're on that level on the pier. Sometimes you can see scarier things. Yeah. I've seen giant stingrays. I've seen sea turtles. I've seen some cool stuff on the pier, but you'd never know it was there if you were standing in the water. But in the Gulf, you can, like you're saying, you can see. It's very easy to see.
Yep.
It's a lot more comfortable to be in that environment where you can actually see what's going on. And even on the Gulf side, we love Pine Island, This trip was fun. I would still much rather go to Pine Island.
Yeah.
I'd probably tell you to go to Pine Island before you go on this trip. But
unless you go to Tarpon Springs and just stay in Tarpon Springs.
But I don't know.
I don't know where to stay
Pine
there.
Island's still better.
But
for me,
yeah,
Pine Island's still better.
I really like Pine Island, but I need them to finish getting fixed from the hurricane because that was a struggle. And the last time we were there, it was a while after the hurricane, and they still hadn't fully rebuilt.
Yeah.
So I am very much looking forward to the Yucatan opening back up.
Yeah.
And once you do, we'll probably be back.
The water there is stained more by the mangroves.
Yes.
And and I'm sure if you go far enough out that it changes. But we've seen the sharks in there. We've seen the stingray with the shark bite out of it. It's just
we've seen the manatees.
Even when you can see through the water, the ocean's still not an inviting place.
Well, even like when we were at the house at the dock, we saw a little trio of stingrays, and I assume they were little baby stingrays. They could have been adult ones in just a small size, but like they were literally just like this big, swimming through, and it was fun because we were on the boat and it was safely away. But I wouldn't want to play in that water. I only like to play in the crystal clear.
And even then, though, they bury up under the sand. You still step on them. I don't know. It's just like one of those things where like I've spent enough time around the ocean to know that I want to be very wise and careful about what I do in the ocean, for sure. But that water, once you got to that island, I mean, even at 4 to 5 foot deep, you could see the bottom.
Yeah.
Even when you're on grass, you could see it, but obviously darker, so you can't see as well. But when it was a sand bottom, it was clear as day.
Absolutely clear. And the fun thing about that is there were so many different grass patches throughout. So like you would go through this really dark section that's just grass and then sand.
Yeah.
And then you drift away and grass. And
the sand is where the fish were.
Yeah.
Because they needed that cover, but that's where you'd catch them at. But all in all, it was a great trip, and I'm always thankful. And I'm always most thankful, though, when you make it there and you make it home with no accidents, with nothing. We actually had the best traffic we've ever had. Normally, even
coming home, it wasn't the worst. It was a lot heavier than the way there. But
normally, even in the mornings, we run into more issues. But like, we had very few slowdowns, even on the way home, leaving later in the day.
Yep.
It went very well, and I feel blessed and thankful, and I gave my thanks for it because it was definitely a blessing. Anytime you can make it, though, to drive 10 plus hours and not get in a car accident is a blessing.
Yes.
And so I take those when I can get them.
Yeah, and what's great about that is a lot of times when you're doing a long drive like that, you start to feel unwell from sitting so long and the stress of being in the car that long and traffic and blah, blah, blah. But we never had any issues this time, praise God. And that's not always been the case.
Little dude almost got car sick on the way home for a minute.
But we quickly solved that.
Yeah, but it was the sun coming through the trees and like that flashing.
He had it 8 and he's looking like right there. So it's the motion sickness.
A lot added up to that one. And that was within like the first hour or two of being on the road. And then we made some changes, addressed it, and he was great the whole rest of the way home. I got my road trip boots.
Yeah.
So just happened to be near a boot store on the way down there. We didn't buy any then, but on the way back, I was like, we should get some boots. And so we got boots on the way back, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Just like any normal people, we go to Florida and we come back with boots.
There is a lot of cowboys in Florida. And we were in Lake City, Florida, and that's where all the cows come from. That's even Lakeland's right up the road. That's where the butter comes from.
But y'all, so about these boots, first off, if you've never bought like real leather goods, our bedroom smells like a boot factory, something.
Yeah.
It smells of leather because we ended up with 3 pairs of boots because it was one of those buy one get 2 free type situations. So of course he got 2 and I got 1.
We thought about getting our son boots, and then we were like, that doesn't make sense when you look at the price breakdown to get his here. I was like, I'd rather just get a pair of boots that I'm going to wear all the time, and then a fancier pair of boots, mainly to match because you bought a pair of boots that was more expensive. And so I was like, well, I'm going to get the fancy ones too then.
I got expensive taste. What can I say?
But I was like, I want one that's like not like it's not like alligator. It's still a regular cowhide.
But it's a nicer.
Yeah. And then I've got the ones that I'm going to wear every day. And so yeah, we ended up with 3 pairs of boots. But we brought those home, put them in the room, and then it just smelled like leather.
Yeah. Like these. I still walk in there days later now. and it smells of leather.
That's a good smell.
I mean, it's not bad.
I think I need more quality leather things in my life, is what I've learned. Like,
my issue with that is it's so expensive.
I know, but it will last forever. You got to think about the one pair of boots.
Especially if you take care of them. Well, like and do leather conditioning and stuff like that.
With the one pair of boots that I had when we first got together were a pair of Justins that I had had since like my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got rid of them is because the soles were gone. The leather would have still been fine. Right? So you get a bag, maybe a nicer jacket, you know, like some nice leather quality stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, like, I really want a leather jacket, but I'm too cheap to buy a leather jacket. And, like,
we've tried to find some vintage
specific leather jacket.
Ones. Yeah.
Like, I want to, that's my issue is I have very specific tastes when it comes to something like that. I did inherit a very intense biker jacket, like I'm a member of the Greasers.
Got, like, little wolf
like I'm one of the Thunderbirds. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
It's like a Halloween costume. It fits well, believe it or not.
Yeah, it fits surprisingly great on you.
Yeah.
And, like, it was my uncle's.
That was
my
the
dad
thing.
was like, hey, do you want this heirloom?
Yeah, it was one of those can't say no situations where you're like, I'm not sure I'm going to wear it a ton, but I feel bad saying no because it was like, hey, my brother just died. Here's this really nice leather jacket that was very expensive. I want you to have it. It was like, I want you to have this. Do you want it?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. And like, it's nice, but I think we're going to end up using it in Halloween this coming year. Because, I mean, it fits so great.
It does fit surprisingly well. Like, I've never saw your uncle, but he must have been, like, either this jacket was older or he was in surprisingly good shape for his age.
It'd been a while since I saw him, so I'm not sure.
Because it fits me in the waist decently. Like, it's not too big, not too small, and then the arm length is even pretty close. It's very shocking.
Yeah. It's weird how great it fits. So I would love to be able to find a way to have some use out of it.
Yeah.
Even if it is Halloween every so many years, like pulling it out.
Can you imagine if I went to like Home Depot in like some old stonewashed jeans, like a white shirt tucked in, and that jacket on?
People are like, did you just walk through a time portal? like, what decade did
I've got the hair. I'm already there.
I know, you walked out the other day and it was like swooped down.
I need some pomade, some Dapper Dan in a can.
Whip out your comb, Danny.
Mm-hmm. My switchblade comb.
I know what I'm finding for you for Halloween.
We have one somewhere.
We have one?
I think so. Or like there's one at Mom's house.
Okay.
Or we had one and something happened to it.
Yeah. Some kid might have broke it, possibly.
I
wouldn't know who would do that.
I'm not a clue.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really neat. And like, if I could figure out maybe how to lessen the
wolves come
vibe
off
of it. Okay, so they do. So we can make it a little less.
But at that point, it's still so intense on everything else, you might as well just leave the wolves on there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might as well have your shoulder wolves because, you know, they're cool. I don't know.
I mean, it's a very neat jacket, but it's very...
It's very something.
Yeah.
I would like to have an understated brown leather jacket, preferably on like a bomber style. Yeah. The fur would be cool. Even just like the no collar look would be nice. And then a nice leather duffel bag. Yeah. And then I could be Tom Cruise from Maverick. Or Top Gun. But I realized that like just now though. It's like, but that's what but that's like a nice leather jacket.
You have to get you a pair of aviators.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Gosh, just get
Gotta
expensive.
complete the look. I mean, it already started expensive because, you know, genuine leather jacket.
I don't know. I don't know how much like a leather jacket is.
I'm pretty sure it's not cheap.
I mean, if my boots were this expensive and they're much smaller, you're probably right. But
I'm just saying. But I would like for you to have a nice leather duffel bag. But again, I really can't stomach the price because, like,
do you think Lucky Brand is like an actual genuine leather?
I'm not sure.
It's only $140.
So probably not. I'd say that's that vegan leather, aka pleather.
Tecovas makes one.
Oh.
It's $300. Yeah. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So and we're cheap. Like, we don't even like spending, you know, well, we spend a little bit more on your clothes because we have to, because
Yeah.
That's just the cost of your clothes. But I don't even like to spend $20 on my clothes unless we're getting them from a specific place. And then we're okay spending like $40, $50 because it's really great quality stuff. And we know that.
It depends on what you're buying. Like if you buy Orvis, you know you're getting quality and you're getting a guarantee. And the same thing if you buy a Patagonia jacket.
Yeah.
Or like we bought nice leather boots. Like these boots, the construction of them, yes, they're from that place that's the buy one, get two free pairs. But these boot brands that they carry, it's not in-store brands.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, what it is they're buying probably factory seconds. There's probably some little thing that they didn't like. I've looked all over these boots. I can't find it. They didn't come with a box. That cuts some of the price.
Also just like out of season.
Yeah. But when these are, that's true. Or they didn't sell. But when you look at the leather of these boots, which you guys can't see them, but they're genuine, real tough leather.
Like I said, our house smells of leather.
You're not going to be able to hurt these.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be able to wear something like this for a long time. So when you can invest in things, and I think that's what we need to be better at, is just like, I think sometimes what we do as people, especially like us, is that we buy cheap things and we buy a lot of them because you think that the quantity is valued over quality. Like we value quantity, just having a bunch of stuff. But really, I think we're going to be happier in the long run if we buy just fewer items, but really quality things that are going to last forever. And like the Patagonia jackets that we have, I don't even know. I know like the one you bought me was used. I think the one I bought you was new, but it was like a previous year or something, so it was a lot less.
And it came like from Steep and Cheap.
Yeah. We bought another one on eBay, and like it's all lasted great.
We got a secondhand Patagonia jacket for our son.
Yeah, which is going to be our daughter's.
Yeah.
But it was just, all this stuff lasts so much longer because it's quality.
Yep.
And it doesn't come apart. You can wash it. You can do this. You can do that.
And like the $5 pair of jeans we got him, and that ripped in the knee.
The pairs of jeans that I get, I can rip them in half eventually. It's like, what is going on with this denim? Is it even denim anymore?
Right.
I need to find that. Like, who makes the quality jeans?
And like, just doing a quick search of that, it's hard to know with buying quality stuff online because you don't really know. I'm a tactile person. I like to feel how something
I literally just searched a genuine leather jacket, and we pull up and like, is that really genuine though?
Yeah.
So like, if you search quality like denim jeans, are they really going to be quality? You don't know.
Exactly. And like the only jean type things that we know that are really great quality are Duluth.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of their fire hose pants, so it's not like jeans.
And even their jeans, like the ones that I have, they're very great quality. It's just, but the cut is not.
The cut's not right for you.
They're a relaxed fit, so it's like wearing
bell bottom, like
not bell bottoms.
Sweatpants.
No, it's like wearing hammer pants. Is what I feel like.
They're just huge because you're so tall and skinny, so you need something a little bit more fitted. And finding,
and maybe they have that now because they've gotten some newer styles. We've not looked in a while, but I don't know. But we don't need to talk about fashion woes and dramas anymore. I don't think. I think we've gotten through that. Anyways, this is probably going to do it for this episode of the podcast before we ramble on about random clothes things that I doubt anyone actually cares about. This is going to be that moment, I feel like, on podcasts where people are like, I don't even know why somebody's still listening. And I'm sitting there like, I kind of wanted to hear you finish what you were talking about. But if you want that, it's eventually going to come up again. So subscribe, like, comment, all those great things. So that way you're sure to see our next podcast, our next video. We appreciate any support that you're willing to give us because it helps us grow this community to reach more people. And really our goal is to point people to Christ. We want to have those conversations. Bree did a great job of lacing some of those things in today. And if you're looking for a higher dose of those things, then turn to the More God, Less Me podcast.
Comes out on Mondays.
Yep. That's the podcast that I do solo, but it's more of a teaching podcast. We just talk about the things of God. This last one we did, we were talking about how we need to point people to Jesus first and make that the focus over pointing out or condemning them for their sins. And I think that that's a really important thing that we can learn from. And so I highly recommend you check that out.
And again, please remember that he was interrupted several times during that podcast because of work being done on a friend's vehicle here. So just if you struggle through that one for whatever reason, I think you probably did a wonderful job putting that all together. But go back and listen to some other ones because there's lots and lots of great content.
At this point, there's 40 of them.
Yeah, there's lots of great content out there. And you go over an array of subjects. And if you like the randomness of this podcast, go check out our other ones. We've got tons more like it as well. But overall, we just hope you have a wonderful weekend and you've enjoyed this and hope that you come back next time.
Yep. God bless.